Hi everyone. Are polyamorous relationships comparable to gay relationships? That is, if we have a relationship with more than two persons involved, is that comparable to a monogamous relationship where both parties are the same gender? Well, some people would say that it is very comparable. On the one hand, we have conservatives, and not necessarily conservative in all areas, but conservative about sexuality, who do say that it is the same thing and condemn one thing by comparing it to the other. Um, and on the other hand, we have people like the YouTuber Joe James, who I am currently replying to, who claim the other end of this coin, that being against one of these two things is the same bigotry as being against the other. Well, I am in favor of same-sex relationships and of polyamorous relationships, but I don't think these two things are comparable. There is a very big and relevant difference. Well, let me start out with my teenage years. I was actually very liked by the conservatives. They loved me because we had this big struggle about gay marriage. I was in the liberal camp fighting for civil unions, but I was one of the few on this side who agreed that yes, of course, we want real same-sex marriage, not just civil unions. And of course, I want gay people to be able to adopt children, especially their partner's children. And I'm also in favor of polyamorous relationships. And well, this was rather embarrassing to my fellow liberals who were claiming that, oh no, civil unions is the only thing we will ever want. Uh, Total hypocrisy, of course, rather transparent, but realpolitik. It was the reasonable thing to do at the time, and I was not being reasonable. I was saying what I believed instead of what was socially appropriate. I kind of work that way. It's a habit. A good habit on the whole, in my opinion, but I should properly stay out of party politics because I can become a liability there, by being honest. Uh, so, I mean, I really understand this connection. It is politically very connected to each other, and it is very much about breaking up old prejudices. But first of all, it's not the same old prejudice, it's different prejudices for the most part. And more importantly, the dynamics are different. What Joe James claimed in his video, available in the lower, well, he claimed that people see polyamorous relationships as being sexist, and that people only see polyamorous relationships with one man and several women, while the poly movement only lift up when it's the other way around. And well, yeah, this is true. One man and several women are the most common form, and this is for several reasons. The main one, I think, is that our culture comes from a patriarchal background, and a lot of civilizations around us are still very patriarchal. I mean, we do have some patriarchy left in our society, but it's very much worse in the Middle East and so on. And there are women being pushed into polygyny, one man having several wives, and they have limited resources for saying no. This is a big problem. We can't just overlook these dynamics. And when we don't have this kind of problem with people being pushed into relationships for socio-economic reasons and social reasons with pressure from family and peers and so on, when we don't have that kind of problem, we still have the basic problem that more than two persons are involved. This does make it more complicated. James draws the parallel that if two persons of the same gender want to have a relationship, that's their own business. I agree on that. And I also agree that if we have three individuals who totally unproblematically, all three of them want to be together with each other, yes, that is their own business too. However, we have another kind of situation that a lot of people see. It's just that they see it only from one direction, and we need to see it from both directions. What they see is this kind of situation. We have a person, stereotypically a woman, but it can just as easily be a man, who is in love with someone, deeply in love. And this person says that, yeah, I want to be with you, but I want to be with this other person too. If you want to be with me, it comes at the price of accepting this other person, like it or not. And this first person chokes back her tears and accepts this other person against her will. This is painful, it can be traumatic, it can be very destructive. So polyamory is not uncomplicated, but like I said, this particular coin also have two sides. People forget the other side, where we have the exact same problem from the other direction. We have this person who loves two individuals and want to be with them both. And then one of them makes an ultimatum that you have to make a choice. You have to abandon one of the persons you love. You can't be with both of us. This can also be problematic, traumatic, painful, destructive, and all that kind of stuff. Some people want to have their own preference to be norm because it's easiest for them. Mainly we have monogamous people who want a mononorm, that polyamorous relationships should not be okay. Much less common, we have the same problem in the other direction. Polyamorous people shaming people for being monogamous. Both sides are problematic here. We need to accept both kinds of relationships, but also have as much respect as possible for the feelings and needs of everybody involved. This is complicated and there are no simple solutions. What I personally want to get rid of primarily, that's the unnecessary drama and heartbreak. There are quite a few cases where we have three people who would be happy together if it wasn't for the normativity in society. You see, if you're bisexual and love one man and one woman, this, regardless of your gender, actually, this becomes socially humiliating to be in that relationship. Sure, the three of you are happy together, but people around you pity you for being cheated on all the time and having to accept this other person, presumably against your will. People looking down on you, people pitying you, that is humiliating, that is painful. A person who would be happy in this triad may be indirectly coerced into forcing the partner, and usually the partner of the other gender, because being heterosexual is the norm, to make the choice between these two persons who are of the same gender. This is so unnecessary. Speaking of which, I really recommend the movie called Never Let Me Go. And I think the book is at least as good, but I can't really tell because this is a really painful story. I do recommend that with reservation. See it only if you're up for it, because it is a really painful movie. I started reading the book after seeing the movie, but I couldn't finish it because I realized that I would go through the same heartbreaks again. So maybe some other time in a few years or something. Anyway, I think I have captured everything I wanted to say for this time, but perhaps we'll continue this discussion later. Until then, have a good time, live long and prosper.